Oh, hello everybody. Have I got some Tesla related news for you today? Now, I'm coming to you pretty quickly after my last video because I'm still buzzing about pre-ordering the Cybertruck here in Australia. The reason I pre-ordered it, basically, you can check out the last video I made, but it's to save on the full self-driving component of the purchase. So basically the full self-driving is going to be rather expensive in 2 to 3 years time is my estimate. So by getting the pre-order done now, I've saved a lot of money and also pretty pumped to be able to pick up the Cybertruck in 3 years time. Now, some of the news that I'm going to mention today is very, very recent to do with Elon Musk, Jay Leno, Cybertrucks, the Boring Company, and also the Tesla Roadster, cold thruster rockets. All of this I'll touch on. So if you like this kind of content, please put a thumbs up down and make the thumb turn blue. That's awesome for YouTube algorithms. It gets our message out way further, which is what we want. All the news about Tesla, I want everybody to hear about it. Also consider subscribing to the channel. That'd be awesome. I'm going to put more of this kind of content up very regularly. So first things first, the Cybertruck on Jay Leno's Garage. So airing on Monday is a show called Jay Leno's Garage. And for those of you who don't know, Jay Leno was a big TV personality back in, I think, the 80s, 90s, 2000s. He's a very wealthy man and he's got one of the most impressive car garages you'll ever see. Like, there is classic cars. He's got bloody everything. There was some really good footage of Jay Leno going in the Tesla Roadster a while back, and he's already put his name down to buy one of them, along with some other big personalities like Joe Rogan. I think is pretty keen on one of those as well. So yeah, this show that's airing on Monday is featuring Elon Musk. Now, there's been a bit of footage, if you haven't already seen it. It's Elon Musk taking Jay Leno's actually driving the Cybertruck. Now, they're discussing certain aspects of it. They do speak about the size. Elon was considering bringing the size of the vehicle down by varying numbers between 5 and 3% to make it smaller to be able to fit in a standard American garage. What I've heard as of just breaking news is that he had a conversation with his main designer, Franz, and they decided to not change the size whatsoever. That's the most recent thing I've heard, because I'm scouring the internet at all times. So it sounds like they're going to keep the Cybertruck the size it was originally built at, and then maybe build another option, which is a smaller variant of the Cybertruck. So it kind of hits on both parties, which is really awesome. Now, the other really cool piece of footage that was aired along with this preview of the Jay Leno's Garage show was Musk asking Leno if he wanted to take the Cybertruck into the tunnel near SpaceX, the Boring Company tunnel. For those of you who don't know, Musk basically has a bunch of companies. The Boring Company is one of them, and this augers tunnels out under the ground. It's primarily going to be used, he said it's going to be used only for electric vehicles, and it's a way to reduce congestion on the roads around the world. So basically roads are becoming more and more congested. There's a massive problem there. So he's come up with the solution, which is these tunnels, and they've already built one in Las Vegas, which was just complete not long ago. And they're going to have autonomous Model 3s driving around this loop to take people from one part of the convention center to the other. So you just go down, hop in the Tesla. They'll have drivers initially, but then they're going to take the drivers away and just use the full self-driving component, the robo-taxi, and it'll do loops to take, I think it was a 15-minute walk that you'd normally take in this convention center, and it brought it down to 1 minute or 2 minutes. So his plan is to build this out all over the whole world, these tunnels, which is absolutely fantastic, obviously starting more locally. So yeah, the Cybertruck, it looks like on the show, they drove it into the Boring Company tunnel, which is pretty amazing. And because that hadn't been done before. Now, another thing I heard, the most recent thing, based still again on the Jay Leno's Garage, is that, yeah, they do mention the Tesla Roadster, and apparently Musk opens up about some new features of the Roadster, namely the cold thrust rocket boosters, which it's apparently going to be called the SpaceX option. So it's an extra package you can buy on the Roadster called SpaceX. Now, from what I've heard, it's a compressed air system that's used with the rocket, his other company, SpaceX. They use this compressed air as part of their thrust. And he's going to mount this inside the Tesla Roadster. Now, keep in mind, the base model of this car is expected to do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles per hour in 1.9 seconds. That's the base model. That's going to be one of the fastest cars on the planet, up with the Bugatti Chiron and all the other ridiculous cars out there. And I would expect their fastest model to probably be the fastest car on the planet. Now, it gets a bit James Bond-esque from now, because what's been mentioned is that the way they're going to do this with the cold rocket thruster, it's going to be mounted in the car, the number plate is going to slide up, and the rocket thrust is going to come out of the number plate hole. How sick is that? It makes me want one. I hope they do that to the Cybertruck as well, because that'd just be hilarious. It's already bulletproof. Why not put some rocket thrusters on it? Yeah, so I'm pretty pumped to see this Jay Leno episode. I hope you guys now are as well. Again, if you like this content and interests you, please smash the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. That'd be awesome. And I'll leave you with the one other piece of big Tesla news that I heard recently. Now, that's to do with Europe and VAT tax. You may already have heard of this, but a lot of you won't have. So Europe, a lot of the countries in Europe are governed by the European Union, the EU. I will mention Norway is not in the EU. They've had this system with VAT, what the EU is considering now, for a long time. So the EU is considering scrapping VAT for all electric vehicles. Now, what that means is that any country within the EU, all over, will be allowed to take away the VAT component of the tax on electric vehicles. It doesn't mean it's going to happen in every country. It means European Union have allowed this to happen. So basically, the independent countries can decide to do this however they want. Now, to explain what VAT is, it's a tax on cars, and it's generally between 19 and 25%. So this obviously gets passed on to the consumer as a 25% increase in the price of the car that you pay. So to take that away, combined with the Berlin Gigafactory, this is huge. This is going to bring the price point on these vehicles, like the Model Y that's coming out. It's going to be a huge production and sales process in the EU, all over Europe, for the Model Y out of Berlin at that Gigafactory. And yeah, one example I heard in Norway, where they're not part of the EU, Norway, and they've had the VAT off electric vehicles for a long time. And apparently there, it's worked too well. So I visited Oslo about 2 years ago, and it was astounding to see the amount of Teslas driving around on the road. Beautiful city. I highly recommend visiting if you ever can. But the amount of Teslas was amazing. And apparently it's gotten to the point there where they're considering reintroducing a VAT tax on electric vehicles in Norway, because there's a whole load of ICE vehicles, internal combustion engine vehicles, that aren't at the end of their lifespan, that are just getting thrown away because of the price. And I think it's seen as wasteful. I don't know too much about that. I just heard that rumor. But they're considering reintroducing the VAT tax in Norway. But the big news is, yeah, that the EU, the European Union, is going to consider scrapping that tax for electric vehicles, which will be massive for Tesla. For those of us who are shareholders like me, I've got quite a few shares in Tesla. That's bloody great news. And I cannot wait to get my Cybertruck here in Australia. So yeah, if you like this content today, please consider following my channel. Big like. Really good. Really hope you enjoy your Sundays and whatever day, whatever part of the world you're in. And I'll see you again soon.